Real estate development's all fun and games till you lose $500,000. Let's discuss. It's all about location. Location, location, location. This guy, Billy Bob, I know he's got money, I know he likes me. Let's do another one. Okay, I'm gonna lose everything. When I looked up and I said, I think we've got a problem. My point is, you are not God. You do not control everything. Welcome back to Brian Bandas Builds a Business, where we discuss business building and real estate development and how to do both while staying sane and healthy in mind, body, and spirit, which I guess we'll do a little heart thing for. Now, I admit it's definitely been too long since the last video, and maybe this video will sort of help you understand why. I love the idea of doing hard things. That's why I push myself in my physical fitness, and I like to start businesses and do things that are not the path of least resistance. I love the idea of it. I love to talk about, oh man, this is, going through that refining fire. Like, that's when we are made, and that's when we become who we're meant to be, right? That all sounds fine and dandy until you're actually in the refining fire, which then sucks. See, I love to talk about mental toughness. I love to read about it and listen to podcasts about it. And my 13-year-old was having a hard time in middle school football. I told him, hey, you gotta push through. And we had all those talks. I'm like, yeah, man, this is gonna make you stronger. And yet here I am. And let me tell you, it's easy to talk about until you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't believe me? Let's just do a quick count. Ireland Street lost like $95,000. Foster Street, TBD, because we're still getting them all sold, but it looks like probably I'm losing 125 to 140. Duke Street, still tallying it up. They're sold, probably lost 100 to 125. Macintosh, again, TBD, probably gonna be 50 to 75. Thomas Street, I think only lost like 10 grand. So that's basically a win. Feels like I made money on that one. And all the while, I'm still running a business and paying people and trying to, feed my family, and all of that costs somewhere between 150 and 2,000 a year, give or take. So while I'm losing all that money, I'm also not making any money and still paying for my family and my business to exist. So I don't know, 500 is probably low. We're probably negative 600 or 700 in the course of about a year and a half, 2 years. Now, I don't say that for sympathy. I just want you to know that that's not hyperbole, and that is the context for what we're gonna talk about this week. So you've heard me talking in the last year and a half to 2 years. I think this all sort of started, this painful period of time started October or November, almost 2 years ago. You've heard me talking about it, and I wanted to share more about what's been going on because as I said on this channel, I want to document the business building journey. I don't want to just show you the highlights. And I think overall I've been good about that, and I want to continue to do that, and hopefully over the next couple years, there's gonna be some fun wins to share as well. The journey's not over, we're still on it, and this is like any good movie, this is when things get dark before they get bright. Frankly, this is a big part of why the videos have been sparse for the last few months. So, in the spirit of truly, honestly, authentically, transparently documenting that journey and that experience, here are 7 lessons. There's no magic number, these are just the things I came up with that I have learned over the last year and a half as I've walked through this challenging period of time. And what I've tried to do is go, all right, unless I'm quitting, then I need to have some takeaways here. I need to come through this and come out the other side better at this than I was before, so I can keep moving forward and take care of my family and build something that I want to build. So here are some of the lessons that I've learned as I've completely gotten my ass kicked over the last 2 years. All right, so lesson 1 is pretty simple. I've got to be pickier with my deals, and in particular, pickier about location. And everybody knows in real estate, everybody's heard the axiom, like it's all about location, 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 location. It's not true that you can't make a deal work in a rougher area or maybe a lower price point area, right? You absolutely can, but you have a lot less wiggle room there. And what I experienced was, it wasn't only that the market changed and sales prices went down. That did happen, but that didn't wipe out some of these deals. What also happened was interest rates went up, which made carrying these deals more costly. Banks tightened up because of what was happening, and so then I ended up having some lots where they wouldn't give me the construction loan, so now I'm just sitting paying monthly to own some land. When numerous things hit at one time like that, and you don't have a lot of cushion, then you're in trouble. Add to that, I've got some sites that I didn't have the foresight to realize that even if the numbers work, this is a really difficult site to build. Maybe it's tight, maybe staging materials is challenging, or getting all the utilities together underground is challenging. And again, it's not that that can't work, but it creates far more expense than a normal site because of the amount of labor or the time that it takes to coordinate those utilities. Additionally, location is crucial because what I experienced in this most recent sort of, we'll call it at least in Nashville, there was a slight downturn in the market. It wasn't a crash, but it took a downturn, right? During that time, what I found was that some of the transitioning areas where we were building were hit the hardest in terms of desirability and sales price, the number of buyers in the market, that type of thing, versus the higher end and higher dollar amount projects that we had seemed to do fine. In fact, what are the two projects that really carried me and my family through this time, albeit barely? Well, it was this one right here, which is looking really good, almost done, and the sales price has absolutely been preserved and might even go for a little more than we did on the pro forma. And the 4 houses I built over near Belmont, which each sold for about 1.3 million. Those are the projects that even through this rough period of time ended up still doing really well for us. So being much pickier on deals financially, making sure, especially if we're looking at stuff that's infill and maybe is like a lower dollar amount, we've got to have really good cushion on there. We've got to pay attention to what it's going to be like to develop on this site, and then being more picky in terms of location. Those two things, especially when you're doing a higher volume, can make a huge difference positively or negatively. The second lesson learned the hard way is not to spread any of your investors too thin across deals. So what that looked like for me was I had a couple investors who were pretty sound financially. And so I actually put them on, call it 3 or 4 deals. And I knew that they had a pretty good financial base and a pretty good cash position so that, if any given deal went south, it'd be fine. We could recover, we could cover some losses. The problem is, if any one of those deals went south, we were fine. But if multiple of those deals went south, it becomes a problem. And it did, because there were these external factors. It wasn't like, oh, we have this one deal that we accidentally, missed something. It was these external factors of interest rates, real estate market, banks, all those changes that affected every deal. And all of a sudden, I had a couple investors who were on 3 or 4 deals with multiple deals going bad, multiple deals ending up in the red. And that became a real problem where, man, I can cover the losses on 1, maybe 2, but not 4 or 5. So I had to realize, even though my investor is like no problem in good shape to do this deal, I really wasn't thinking in terms of what if all 4 of the deals that he's on goes poorly. So don't spread any one investor too thin, even though the challenge is that that's the path of least resistance. I got a new deal. I've already worked with this guy, Billy Bob. I know he's got money. I know he likes me. Let's do another one. That's the easiest, and that's what I did. And we fired off and got some deals pretty easily. And then it put us in a bind because we had these external factors that affected almost all of our deals. So we're about to do our first coat of paint in this big old 7,000 square foot house in Green Hills area in Nashville. Look at this freaking bathroom. That's a big double shower back there. We're gonna have a big tub in the middle, right here in front of it, and then glass, big old gorgeous shower with rain heads. Holy cow, I wanna shower in there. So lesson 3, man, again, it's embarrassing to even say this, but it's so simple, and yet when things go sideways, some of these things become difficult, and that is that putting things off does not help. It makes it worse. So for me, I ended up in this situation where things are going so sideways. They're so difficult and so overwhelming that smaller things, I would just put it off Could be anything from like, I need to clean up this job site to, holy crap, I need to deal with a late, payment on a loan. I'll get to it. And I became so overwhelmed that the number of things that ended up getting thrown into the I'll get to it bucket just continued to grow. Unfortunately, they don't just go away. They catch up to you. So I've adopted a new policy. And that is when something like that pops up in front of me, I knock it out right now, because the I'll get to it pile got so big that we started to have some real problems that wouldn't have existed had I just taken the time, as overwhelmed as I was, to knock it out at the beginning. So if you end up in this type of situation where things are spiraling and it's overwhelming, don't fall into that trap of procrastination. I know there's a balance, right? They talk about not falling under the tyranny of the urgent. So I'm not saying that any text, any phone call, whatever, you have to respond to everything. But things that are going to have to get addressed, I encourage you, address them. Don't do what I did. All right, so we're in this awesome kitchen, which is mostly covered in plastic because we're about to paint. You gotta love that ceiling. But here's what I really love. Check out this pantry, y'all. Here's my pantry. Oh, actually, it's an entire other room. It's basically a small kitchen. There's gonna be appliances in there, tons of shelving, tons of cabinets, another dishwasher. Pretty rad. One of the more important lessons, and this is lesson number 4, and probably one of the more painful lessons that I've learned the hard way through this experience, is that bigger and faster is not necessarily better in terms of business building. So how this came about was I saw a video a couple years ago, and I did a video on this channel about it, and that was basically how I'm gonna scale to 10 million a year. Now, I don't believe that my plan to scale was bad. I don't think the strategy was wrong. I think the timing was rough, and I think me being so hurried was a mistake. Rather than finishing the projects I had and then growing really organically from there, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna force this thing, and I'm gonna buy a bunch of projects at once and hire to build those projects at once. And we're going to take this leap from where I am now with 1 project manager and X number of projects to 5 project managers and 5 times the projects, and we're gonna do that in a year, boom. Possibly, had things in the market not gone the way they did, maybe some of the flaws in that would never have been exposed. But they were, as soon as the environment was not perfect, all of the flaws in that were exposed. There was too much weakness, the foundation was not there. So it's not that I don't wanna execute that plan, I still intend to build this business, but I'm gonna let it grow in a much more organic pace. And if that means that instead of doing that build in, say, 3 to 5 years, it takes 10 or 12 or 15, that's okay. Because when I get to that point, it is gonna be a very robust, very healthy company where we have taken the time at each level to refine our systems and trim the fat, and then we're ready for the next level. So there's tension, there's a balance, because every entrepreneur is familiar with the teaching of like, go, push, do more, challenge yourself. And I'm not saying not to do that. I mean, me trying to build this business at all, especially now in the wake of the last 2 years, is me pushing myself. But that doesn't always mean like do more faster, do more sooner. Sometimes it means do more smarter, maybe even slower. Hey, by the way, welcome back to my office. I have a book that I wrote, this one. What's it called? Real Estate Development 101. I should know that. This is only $10 on Amazon. So cheap. Could be life-changing information. Oh my gosh, that is life-changing. So as penance for waiting so dang long to release my next video, I'm gonna give away 2 of them this time, okay? The first one goes to Thomas Pierce. The second one goes to JP Munoz. Congratulations. You can snag this puppy on Amazon for $10. That's a freaking deal. Secondly, unrelated to real estate, but related to me wanting to tell you about it, one of the benefits of finally starting to climb my way out of this hole is that I've started to have a little more space emotionally and mentally, spiritually, etc., to do the things that I care about. And so I finally am starting an apparel company, and it's one that I've thought about for years. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, a lot of you know that I like fitness. I post my workouts there, or at least I did while I was active on Instagram. And so I've started an apparel brand for dads who like fitness, because guess what? That's what I am. I'm a dad, I like fitness. It's sort of part of how I try to model certain things for my sons. So the brand is called Bad Rad Dad, and that is what my boys call me when we wrestle. So it's Bad Rad Dad Apparel. If you are interested, if you're a dad who cares about fitness and physical health and challenging yourself in that way, or if you have somebody who is a dad who does those things in your life that you love and care about and you want to get something for him, then you can check it out. We are just now launching the brand. In fact, by the time this video's out, it might be up and running. It's going to be badraddad.store, or you can check it out on Instagram at badraddadapparel. So go check it out. I'm no longer posting my workouts on the real estate development Instagram page. I'm just gonna post them on the Bad Rad Dad page, since that page is all about apparel. If you're not a dad or you're not into fitness, no problem. Just don't go to the website. My feelings won't be hurt. So in the spirit of fitness, as well as the forthcoming lesson number 5, let's take a quick break and go get sweaty. Okay, so I'm a CrossFit guy and a garage gym guy. So what we're gonna do today is a benchmark workout called Cindy. You basically cycle through 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, as many times as possible in 20 minutes. And your score is however many you can do in 20 minutes. And the idea is you can do that workout again in a month, 2 months, 6 months, and like measure your progress. So I haven't done this in a long time. I'm gonna do the pull-ups as strict as I can. I mean, there's gonna be some movement, but I'm not doing kipping or butterfly. I'm just gonna do them strict. So also my hands are friggin' torn up right now. So I'm using these gymnastics grips because my hands are just beat up. They're all calluses all ripped off and everything. So I'm using those to try to stifle that pain a little bit when I'm doing those pull-ups. So, all right, let's get it. All right, I got 13 rounds plus 4 reps. I don't even know what that is in total reps. Let me think, mental math. 30, 300, no. 394 reps total. You know why? Because I'm a Bad Rad Dad. But speaking of getting sweaty, speaking of getting your workouts in, let's talk about the 5th lesson I learned over the last 1.5 years. It's hard not to love that herringbone floor in the entryway, right? Holy cow, that's beautiful. So lesson number 5 is that self-care dies when we need it the most. So I will openly say this has been the hardest period of time that I've ever gone through in my life. It's been brutal. I thought numerous times, okay, I'm gonna lose everything. I don't know that that's still an impossibility. I've somewhat made my peace with that possibility. But during that, I became so overwhelmed, so tired and beat down. There were periods of time where I didn't work out for weeks at a time, stopped journaling, wasn't eating well, wasn't making myself go to bed at a decent time to get a good night's sleep. When I needed to do those self-care things the most, it became hardest to do them and I neglected them. Now it's understandable because I was just drained of energy, and it takes a little bit of energy to have the discipline to do those things, to hit the gym, to eat well, to go to bed on time and quit looking at your phone, and to journal and to read the Bible, and these things that I know fill up my spirit and sort of tend to my spirit. So my challenge, my encouragement to you is that if or when you're going through a challenging moment like this, don't let those self-care things die away. You need them now more than ever. So this room behind me is the media room, and the way I have it set up, this little section right here will be carpeted, and then up on this platform that will be carpeted. And the idea is that they can put recliner chairs right here and back there. We can probably put 4 down front and 5 up top, and basically project a movie and have this movie theater in their home. Really cool. So lesson number 6 is this: there are things that you cannot control. Show yourself some grace. And this is definitely coming from firsthand painful experience. As entrepreneurs, we consume all of this messaging that's like ownership. You gotta take ownership, you gotta take responsibility. That's how you learn and grow. And I agree with that. But to pretend that there are not a significant number of important things in this life that we can't control is foolish. And I went down that path for a while, where not only am I getting beat up in business, but I'm internalizing it all. It's ownership, 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 and it's my fault. And I am an idiot and I'm a loser because the only explanation is responsibility, me. I had friends coming to me who are also pretty sharp, experienced entrepreneurs and business owners saying, hey man, you need to acknowledge that the market is difficult and that things have changed and that it's affecting everyone. And it just took me a while to do that. I wasn't willing to do that, right? That seems, we sort of are taught in the like self-improvement entrepreneur world that like that's a cop-out. If I blame interest rates in the market, well, I should have seen it coming, should have done my research, I should have had a plan. The truth is, very few people saw it coming to this degree. I actually did see it coming to a smaller degree and had a plan and had built-in cushions for these things. And the changes were so abrupt and so extreme that they basically not only ruined a lot of my deals, but ruined my contingency plans. To give you a specific example, since this is a real estate channel, there were numerous properties that I was prepared to hold and rent out, but at 9.5% interest, we would still be losing a couple thousand a month. So holding them instead of selling at a loss wasn't an option. Additionally, banks got tight, and the one bank that would talk to me about refinancing and holding this project, they wanted us to put down another 25%, which would have been several $100,000 in cash just to hold it to try to avoid selling for a loss. So that contingency plan, which I actually did have, got totally obliterated. My point is, you are not God. You do not control everything. And despite what a lot of the gurus tell you, there is a place for ownership and there is a place for grace. And I finally had to stop beating myself up. I mean, I was being cruel to myself, telling myself this is my fault. And somebody better than me would have avoided it, would have seen it coming, wouldn't be in this position. That was just not true, and it wasn't fair. And finally, through numerous conversations, I was convinced by my friends to show myself a reasonable amount of grace. The fact is, it's really pride and arrogance that says, I'm so great that I should never make a mistake. That's silly. Give yourself grace. You're a person, and there are just gonna be things you can't control. Lastly, number 7, never before in my life has the idea or the axiom of simply do not quit ever been more applicable than it is right now. And so first I want to encourage you, if you're trying to do something big, like I'm trying to do, whatever your version is, you're starting a company, you're starting a family, you're trying to build wealth, you're trying to get healthy and lose 50 pounds, whatever it is, at some point it's gonna get ugly. At some point it's gonna not go according to plan because as we just established, we just can't control everything. We can't do it. We don't have that power. And it's gonna get ugly, and I'm telling you, all you have to do to make it is not quit. Never before in my life have I been more tempted. I never truly considered it, partially because it's not a practical option. I got partners on these deals, I got loans, I can't just walk away. It would ruin myself and numerous other people financially. But I know that on the other side of this is a better version of me as a person, a better version of me and more formidable version of me as a business owner and real estate developer. I know that the treasure is on the other side of this if I just don't quit. So I'm letting you know, as ugly, as gruesome, as freaking terrible and god-awful and painful as the last year and a half, 2 years have been, we're coming up on 2 years. It was about November when I looked up and I said, I think we've got a problem. October, November. So as bad as it's been, I'm not quitting. I'm still going. And at some point, 1, 2, 3, 5 years from now, I'm gonna go, damn, that was rough. And look where we are now. So my encouragement to you, if you cling to nothing else, just go, all I have to do is not quit today. Just keep going, just don't quit. Heck, you don't even have to do anything today. Just don't quit. That's number 7. That's my takeaway. I'm not quitting, I'm still building. Let's keep going. So there you have it, guys. 7 lessons that I've learned through getting absolutely smoked in the last couple years. I hope that you can at least learn from some of those, maybe avoid some of the same mistakes. I truly encourage you. Some of these lessons, I'm ashamed to say I had heard them before this all went badly. And so what I want to express is consider taking them to heart. Some things I know, you just have to learn it yourself. That's what I just did. But if you can avoid some of that pain by just trusting me and some of the people I've learned from, please, dear God, consider doing that. But hey, as I say, there's no way around it except through. So I'm walking through it. I'm better. I know these things that I didn't know before, and I really know them and believe them and understand why they matter. And now I'm better than I was before at what I'm trying to do. I think there's some good things in the next couple years. In fact, here's a bonus. I didn't think of this one when I was outlining the video, but I want you to consider building your real estate development business around one of 2 things. And I would overly generalize them as quantity versus quality, okay? Not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean if you do quantity, it should be crappy, but hear me out. I planted myself in the worst of both worlds. The value of quantity is we do a high volume. We don't need to make as much per unit, per house or whatever, because we're doing a highly repeatable volume, ideally clustered together geographically. I'm building 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 houses here, and it's repeatable floor plans and materials, and we're getting savings because we're buying things in bulk, and we're able to just cruise down like an assembly line, think track homes and neighborhoods, etc. Again, doesn't mean there's no quality. It doesn't mean build crappy homes, but the focus here is on repeatability. These are not custom houses. The other end of the spectrum would be I'm building a couple high quality custom style homes. There's no repeatability. Each one is unique and different and special. It's sort of like a work of art, but the profit margin in each one, because of the nature of the product, is much higher. So the big house, the 7,000 square foot house, fits in this bucket. A lot of the smaller infill houses should fit in this bucket. And the problem is what I did was I planted myself in the middle where I got the worst of both worlds. I was doing a higher volume, but it wasn't repeatable and systemized. It was scattered all over geographically, different floor plans, different materials and designs all over the place, but without the huge profit margin of these custom style homes. And so what I got was no repeatability and no profit margin. That was a bad recipe. So I would encourage you, I will definitely not tell you one is better than the other. I will tell you, you should probably eventually pick one. Now, for me, what I've gone through in the last couple years has actually allowed me to make this discovery and to see both and to figure out which one I enjoy more. Both of them can be fun. Both can be highly profitable. Neither one is inherently better than the other. It just depends on what you enjoy more. Do you want the art and the craftsmanship, or do you like the idea of building operations and systems that are efficient and effective, right? Neither is better, but there's your bonus lesson number 8 that I learned through this experience. So I hope you're getting something out of this, guys. If you're becoming a better person, a better business person, a better real estate investor or developer, then hook me up with one of these and one of these and one of those. I'll see you next time.